today's program of CGSS Bulletin. In our today's program, we will be talking about Azerbaijan-Pakistan military cooperation, its significance for both the countries, and the future prospects. In this regard, today we have with us Mr. Heyder Mirza from Azerbaijan. He is program author and host of weekly Radius Military Analysis program on Azerbaijan Public Television and Radio Broadcasting Company, ICTIMAI TV. Hello, Heyder.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for your invitation, and thanks for the attention of everyone who is joining us. It's a very interesting topic. Thanks for the initiative, and I'm open for your questions.
Okay. Since we will be talking about Azerbaijan military and Pakistan military cooperation, Heyder, can you please educate our viewers regarding the recent developments that have happened?
Yes, I will not delve deep into the history of the thing because we know how it's what these bilateral military cooperation elements are based on, so the common identity, historical things, etc. But when it comes to the recent trends, I see that the process that started about 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit more or less, it gives its fruits because first of all, we have institutional contacts on the level of the ministries of defense, the chiefs of staff, and this or another separate commands, like this can be the naval forces, the air forces, etc. And these meetings and discussions, they're in very different formats. They can be bilateral on the level of the ministers of defense, or these can be roundtables, working groups, and they're functioning because I contact with the Azeri military, with the officers, and the number of people, the number of professional officers in Azerbaijan who have experience of contacting and knowledge sharing with Pakistani colleagues is increasing. 10 years ago, it was not that much. Now, among officers from 30 to 40 years old, you see more and more, particularly when you talk about the special forces, people who visited Pakistan or contacted or were in joint trainings, etc. This is really good. This is the first trend that I observed. And the second, from like 10 or 12 years ago, from talking about maybe a lot of lyrics without any exact things, exact projects, etc. Now we have certain topics that are concretely, we know that this is what we're discussing, this is what we achieved. For example, the JF Block 3 Thunder jet fighter issue. It has been for several years in the agenda, and we're getting closer and closer to that. Yes, we haven't reached the result. We'll talk about that later probably, but now we have Super Mushak training airplanes, that this is also a little fruit. This is like something that we can demonstrate already. So the institutional contacts and the bilateral relations, what I want to say, the first most important trend is that these bilateral relations, they have now a good channels on the institutional level, and they're producing fruits. The second thing is the growing awareness in the public opinion, because military cooperation, they can be in different formats in different countries. There are countries who have really close military cooperation, but nobody knows about that for this or another reason. There are a number of examples. Yeah. But in case of Pakistan and Azerbaijan, the issue is a lot of politicized, and politicized in a positive sense, because there is a good benefit for societies of both countries knowing better each other, and also the military is just a part of that. So the more we go public on that, of course, not touching the secret things, national security, etc. But the more we go public on that, the better it is for the perception, the public awareness of why our governments are doing. What can be Pakistan's interest in military cooperation with Azerbaijan? Just the historic sympathy or identity issues, etc. If you talk that this is the only thing, people may understand it and may not, because all in all, it goes about, first of all, your own national interest, your taxpayers' money, etc. And the same about us. So the public awareness is growing. And among the experts, military experts in Azerbaijan, military journalists, the issue of cooperation with Pakistan is always on agenda. It's always in social media, it's always here. So that's the most visible.
Okay. Okay. Since we're talking about military cooperation, So as we know that Azerbaijan and Pakistan, they're both facing aggression from both their rival states, that is Armenia and India. So can you please tell us how this military cooperation will help both these states, Pakistan and Azerbaijan, in minimizing the threat which they are already facing from both the rival states?
A very interesting question and very complex. Or answering this question by itself, it can take like 30 or 40 minutes, but we'll try to just go through the most.
I don't think we have that much time.
Yeah, of course. So if we go back into like a decade ago or something, you will see a rather different situation that, yes, from time to time, Chinese interests were just popping out in the South region, the South Caucasus region, issues related to the energy security, strategic pipelines, etc. And from time to time also Indian issues, like there were some visits, some meetings, etc. But now it is much very different. And it is very different, first of all, because of the growing role of China. Growing role of China in the South Caucasus, and at the same time, I don't know what was a trigger. If it was the Armenian-Indian relations that triggered Azerbaijani-Pakistani cooperation, I don't think so. I would rather support the position that Azerbaijani-Pakistani cooperation made the Armenian side step towards Indians, or vice versa, Indians towards Armenia, and now they have certain projects that they're working around. For example, the Armenians are going to buy from India the rocket artillery systems, radar systems, etc. So there are some like triangles or some formats that we're observing at the moment in the region, and they can bring to the situation when it is like the local conflicts, the frozen conflicts. Let's take the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. They are like the focal points for which the other external players in the South Caucasus, like it can be Chinese, the Pakistani, the Indians, they can explore these conflicts in a positive or negative ways and in their own interest. When it comes to Azerbaijani-Pakistan interest, first of all, you are righteous in underlining the format that this is aggression. The Pakistan faced the same thing in the early stages of its independence, and this post-colonial border frictions and disputes that turned out into open aggression. More or less the same is in the case with Azerbaijan. But if we come to the military issue, like down to the ground, the theater of warfare is not like similar 100%, but it is really, it resembles in certain aspects, it really looks like the same. And the experience that the Pakistani military have, and the several wars that they have, let alone just put aside the theater of warfare in the Kashmir, that it's a mountainous area, it is more or less like Karabakh, etc. If we put all that aside, even these several wars that Pakistan had by itself, not only in Kashmir, in other areas bordering with India, we know that in 60s, 70s, etc. This experience is huge, and this is, it would be, you know, when people are quite military journalists, experts, when they're discussing military cooperation with Pakistan, they more or less focus on technical issues, because this is for publicity, it is like more, their perception is like to buy something, like some weapon systems, etc. But for me, the most important thing is knowledge sharing, experience sharing. Because more or less, as I said in the beginning, the fruits from military technical cooperation, they are observable. I'm sure that JF 17 Thunder Block 3, it will be sooner or later in Azerbaijan, because we don't have alternatives. I mean, we have in financial and technical terms, but politically we don't have alternatives. But knowledge sharing and experience is more important, because particularly in the special troops, the troops that are experienced, like let's take Alpine fighters, the Highland special forces, etc., that are designed to fight in the mountainous areas. I know that this is one of the priorities in Azerbaijan, because they're going to increase the mountainous element in the special forces. And I talked about that. I talked to our military in these close circle discussions that the Pakistan could be a really, really good source of knowledge and experience in that. So I think this is being discussed. because, as I said, the number of contacts is growing. Then, what is very interesting for us, certain weapon systems that India is operating, they are present in Armenian army as well, because they are supplied by Russia.
Okay.
India buys it on export prices. Armenia buys them on domestic prices because it's part of the CSTO.
Okay.
But it doesn't change the things. And one of the things we're observing, in like Azeri experts focused on military issues, we're observing the behavior of Su-30 SM universal heavy jet fighters that India purchased from Russia, and the recent clashes on the borderline with India, in Pakistan and India, particularly, I mean, the Air Force clashes last year. They demonstrated that, well, not only that, also there were several incidents during the training flights in India with those airplanes. So we're always observing and comparing the behavior of JF-17 or other airplanes that Pakistan is operating against these Russian models that India has. Because Armenia purchased 4 of these airplanes, and they're planning to bring it to 12 very soon. This is the place where they're trying to counterbalance us, because when it comes to air forces, the Azerbaijani air forces are really, really good and modern in helicopter part. But when it comes to jet fighters, it's old Russian fighters, and we have to change them sooner or later. So there are a number of such issues. We can delve into technical things. So it's really important to underline this, because this cooperation, it is based, as I said in the beginning, not only on the identity and mutual sympathy, but also on rational interest. And rationality is really present here.
Okay. Okay. Taking this discussion forward, how do you think this military cooperation can play a significant role in enhancing or maintaining the regional stability?
Look, usually we know that the stability is also, if we talk about the realist theory in international relations, let's say, it is like civis pacem para bellum. If you want peace, you have to get ready to war. And this is more or less true in case of Nagorno-Karabakh, because Azerbaijan is not only, the issue here, we don't want peace actually. We want a solution of the conflict, to be honest. So in which way it is solved, it's another issue. It can be military. But the other side of the story is that the conflict can be solved peacefully only at that moment when the sides which support Armenia, they really observe the situation that Azerbaijan is 100+1% ready to solve the issue militarily. In that case, they will interfere and will not allow that, and will bring the peaceful solution, because that will be the less evil, rather than Azerbaijan's independent, ambition to get the military. That will be the best for them in that case. So yes, we can say it has input, it gives input to stability, but on the other side, if the price of the solution is certain instability, well, I'm not going to be politically correct and not to underline that for the sake of being like good. So yes, sometimes some problems, they need instability. So this is one of the most important things Azerbaijani diplomacy is facing. It's a bit away from the Pakistani military cooperation issue, but we're always said that yes, you can solve the issue with a military way, but this will destabilize the whole region and it will trigger like more problems. That's the argument that we face. So stability, I would talk about the protection of national interest.
Okay.
That's most important, and a little bit again about rationality. Look, Azerbaijan is trying to diversify, for example, its economy at the moment, because oil prices are really low, it's unstable, etc. We have this problem of diversification in our economy. One of the perspective dimensions of the economy is the military-industrial complex, because in the last 10 years, it really made a huge like step forward in Azerbaijan. And yes, now we're more focused in production of weapons for domestic consumption for our military. And this is like a tailor-made product, not for export, but for ourselves. Pakistan has that experience, and Pakistani military industrial companies, they have that experience. At the moment, our military industrial complex is, it's more like open to Turkish and Israeli part. These are the major companies that are present. I really want that entry of Pakistani huge companies into this market. This will bring stability also in terms of the, you know, any relationship, even if it comes to the military cooperation, it can have some political national interest factors behind them. But again, what gives the hugest ground to that is the financial input of both sides also, because all in all, particularly if we talk about the distant regions, and where, yes, we're on one side, we're quite close to each other, and the other, we're not the closest country to Pakistan. And we cannot claim that we're the focal point in your national interest. At least you have to earn something, and at least this has been like very positive in terms of business relationships as well. So the issue of stability, if to underline the finalize it, the issue of stability is like doubtful. We are living unstable moment all over the world. The issue is not how it will input into stability in the region, but how this military cooperation, these bilateral relations, may even make us win from this instability. Because probably what Azerbaijan has been waiting for this 30 years, this moment of instability, when everybody is doing its own business, Moscow is watching somewhere else, Iran is watching somewhere else, Europe is busy, and then probably we have the moment. So this is, maybe I'm not politically correct, but that's what at least we're discussing it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. My last question for today's program will be: how can this cooperation in defense and military spheres, how can it be improved? It can be enhanced in future. What are the areas where future, future prospects are available?
Some of them I've already mentioned. First of all, I think that we have to focus more not on military technical issues. Military technical issues will always be there. We have the cases of export of super mushak. We have on the table the GF-17. I hope it will be solved really soon. But I will focus more now on knowledge sharing, experience sharing, increasing of numbers of Azerbaijani officers in Pakistani military high schools, and vice versa, presence of Pakistani officers who can study here or teach here. Because all in all, in Azerbaijan, they can have access to some other technologies, some other experiences from other partners that Azerbaijan. Then I think that sooner or later we will come to this triangle. We have that between Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia now. This military cooperation has like more than 2 decades of history. It is the same sort of triangle being constructed like Ankara, Baku, and Astana with Kazakhstan. I would, in the future, I would advise the Pakistani and Azerbaijani political elites to consider creation of some joint reaction force or something. It cannot be like, yeah, it can be anti-terror, it can be some infrastructure security thing, it can be, but for the future, just start training this. Don't establish it now, because it will be really questionable under which format they will function, whatever, because there are too many questions now, but it is an issue of the next decade. In the next 10 years, maybe we will come to the situation where like Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan will have like 100 people, anti-terror joint task force, whatever. So human element, intellectual element, knowledge sharing, and the most important thing, you are a think tank, and I'm from a think tank background. I'm still working for think tank. I think the think tanks have to increase their cooperation, and your think tanks, they have really close ties with the military traditionally, and the knowledge sharing intellectual element That's a very important channel through which we have to establish it. The best contacts that I have in Pakistan, the most fruitful discussions I had through the channel of the Center for Strategic Studies, now it's the Azerbaijan International Relations Center, with your think tank. That this should be increased and intensified. Like also this Zoom conference discussion, it's just one of the examples of that.
Okay. Okay, with that, we will be concluding our today's program. Thank you, Heyder, for taking out time, for joining us, and for the valuable insight that we have got.
Thank you. Sorry, I hope that in 20 minutes we could touch as much as possible. But if something is missed, you can just share my contacts and I will discuss it for the colleagues. With pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Have a nice day.
And have a nice day, everyone. Thank you. Hafiz. Pakistan and Azerbaijan have fraternal ties, and they share deep historical as well as cultural bonds. And we hope that this military operation will help in strengthening the relations over the period of time. Until next time, Allah Hafiz.